Well, Brian Robertson, this is a treat. The man behind the mission is in front of me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you giving me time to have this chat with you.
Kind of fun to be on the other side.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I've been...
be kind.
I've been listening to you interview some incredible leaders, asking them some great questions about innovation and revenue cycle, RCMInnovators, your series. I want to just ask you right off the bat here, why is this an important series? Why is this an important story to be telling?
Yep. So we're very big on, wisdom of the crowdsourcing wisdom in the context of data, the idea of mastermind. Over the years, like with client summits or user groups, and people know me as a loquacious kind of guy. I can talk a lot, you know, but I love also to step back, bring people together, in the revenue cycle. We all have the same macro dynamics, but the micro dynamics are always situational, and conditional, whether you're a children's hospital or you're in a certain market, localized payer dynamics, things like that. So it's the concept of it takes a village, right? So we love bringing data together and doing cohort. We love bringing people together, and we just like the, democratization of ideas, right? And turning things upside down and people challenging each other and asking better questions. And, we are at a tipping point in my mind that if you just think about the imbalance between, from a labor standpoint, supply and demand.
Oh, sure. Yeah, totally.
A lot of we've been pushing a lot of this stuff for a lot of years. It's we'll get there. And it's clients are leaning in saying, I'm having a hard time filling revenue cycle spots.
Yeah.
Maybe the bots.
Yeah.
And advanced analytics, could play a role. So I think the timing is good to leverage innovation to get some stuff done that's been needed for a while. But
sure.
I mean, we all say in this industry, healthcare is behind. It's a decade behind. Who knows? We all know it is.
Yeah.
What the exact number of years are. But this is a good time to kind of leapfrog.
Right.
Let's find some leapfrog moments, and because we have to.
So you've been in this space for 2 decades.
You see the gray hair on my head?
And even through these conversations, you have an opportunity.
Actually, I've been in the space for 3 decades.
Is that right? 3 decades.
2 decades as an analytics dork.
Okay, right on. But you always seem to have endless energy about it, right? It's always very engaging for you. You're in it. You're passionate about it.
I said I was a dork.
What has got you fired up? Now, what's driving you with the energy now? What is it?
Yeah. So we're one of those groups that says data is the new oil. We do live in a data economy. I know it sounds buzzwordy. I can't do anything about that because it's actually legit. So for years, we've been working with clients. We do very complex data integration, curation, we add and enhance data.
Yeah. And
we've been doing that for 20 years. And, you get better at it. You add more risk markers or algorithms. But it's kind of like the time is now, and data is the answer. And 20 years of doing this, we think we can help a lot. And if you want to be, one of my big passions, as you know, is stage 5 or 6 business analytics maturity. Ubiquitous insights given on a silver platter to the right user at the right time, and everybody uses this in the marketing, but it's still legit. The right data, the right user at the right time. Let the anomalies find the users.
Yeah.
Whether it's doctor, nurse, case manager, biller, collector, the data is all there. And if you're missing data, you do data gap analysis. You go find the data, right? And you solve problems through data every single day.
Yeah.
And if you think you can compete or win without analytics, I don't know.
Yeah, so this is something that I want to ask you about, which is it just seems to be an ever-increasing complexity and specialization that's happening in the back office of healthcare, right? I mean, certainly a lot of great advancements on the clinical side, and on the back office, it's just getting very intense. And the expectation for health systems to be able to manage and navigate this space, both on the clinical side and the back office side simultaneously, just becoming overwhelming.
Yeah.
And what it's starting to look like is that partnership between healthcare providers and the vendors that are now supporting them on the back office is absolutely necessary, right?
Yeah.
And I know you've talked before, I want to hear your thoughts on this. You've talked before about the difference between vendors. It's really just kind of a transactional sort of relationship between, and then an actual partner.
Yeah.
Right. So can you tell me more about this aspect of being a partner?
Do you have 6 hours?
Well,
no, I think that for all of my vendor friends, we always long to be considered a partner.
Yeah.
I think that gets played around with is like, oh, that's just a euphemism. But what we do is unique and differentiated, and it requires a lot of trust. So trusted advisor. I mean, I always feel like I'm saying the cliche words, but it's like, well, we're actually trying to do that.
Yeah.
We want to be a trusted advisor to our clients. We want to be considered a strategic partner.
Sure.
And not if you're a supplier of IV bags, like Baxter or something, you're a supplier. Okay, I get that. But many vendors are trying to do something value add.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah.
I mean,
what are the hallmarks, right? So if I'm a provider, I mean, this is the same thing we've talked about this before, where you're going to get when you're talking to a capital partner. Capital partners, every one of them is going to say, we're a strategic partner. We're not just capital for you guys. We want to make you win. We're going to be very engaged. We're going to create success together. And it's
you mean that we're more than money?
Totally, yeah. And it's in so many cases, it's a platitude situation, but you're definitely making the difference. I think what I'd like this audience to hear from you is, what are the hallmarks for the genuine partner that's out there looking to cooperate with you and innovate together and that kind of thing? How do you spot it?
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one. I think some relationships that we have with clients when we're in the sales process and we're meeting each other, it could be that we had a connector. It's, you love it when things start with some trust.
Yeah.
There's known quantity. Hey, I want to introduce you to this person. These guys are known. Their reputation is strong. I still find that you have to earn, when you do a deal with a client,
sure,
you're earning the trust of even the people in procurement. You're earning the trust of not just the economic buyer, but the champions and the sponsors, and even some of the naysayers in the beginning that are kind of like, I don't know about these guys.
Yeah.
So, we work really hard to earn trust. And one of the ways we do that is data trust. Here's another one. Single version of the truth. Like
sure,
everybody and their brother says that. It's really hard to do that, to take data from Epic, Cerner, Meditech, credit agencies, 837s, 835s, thread the needle across all of those and have intelligent joins.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to use complex fuzzy logic, and it's hard to unify all that data, curate the data for action, and then create. So it's more than just balancing.
Right.
It's like, can you trust this data?
Yeah.
And many people have been burned, and I get that. So we probably overdo in the implementation, like the testing and the validation, and we take UAT to a level, that because we know that if we put time and investment into that,
sure,
there will be trust.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, data trust too is, data doesn't have to be perfect to get value out of it. We can take 837s and 835s, get directional insight. You can't balance that to any financial statement yet.
Right.
You can join other data to, but you can get directional insight and you can start to get things done. So it's also what is your roadmap to have like ultimate data trust, and it's being pragmatic along the way. But that's how, you have relationship trust, but when you're meeting new people, creating trust around the data is the best path that we see to creating trust. Yeah, and then just working hard, and caring every day about helping them move the needle. Yeah, that builds trust. So being authentic about it, and
as we have seen like we talked about, the increasing complexity and specialization, so much of the language gets nuanced. You have all these acronyms, like it's getting confusing, and it seems like it's increasingly important also to continue to find how to connect the dots and the pathway back to value for the patient. So, as you're talking about single source of truth, the value of innovation and this type of stuff and what's happening in the back office of healthcare, I mean, there's so much complexity. It's almost becoming, it's obscured. It's like obtuse. Like, I mean, I don't even know what's going on, right? So can you help us like connect some dots between the kinds of technologies and specialization, the importance of data in the back office, and value for the actual patient? How do we get back to that root?
Yeah. I mean, walk around these halls and we'll all say the same thing about the patient in the middle.
Yeah.
Right. And genuinely people believe that, and they're directing their offerings to that more and more. Patient as consumer.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about that because if you do advanced analytics and the kinds of things where micro segmentation is important.
Okay.
So it's a health consumer is sometimes a shopper of healthcare, right? If I'm going to go get a total knee and I live in a certain area, I now have different ways to shop for.
Right. Yeah, sure.
And then there's the cost and assessing that, and then there's the outcomes.
Yeah.
So I can shop for healthcare, I can make a decision and then go somewhere and have it done. And now I'm actually I'm a patient. And then ultimately I'm like a customer, like a retail experience. So I could get sent a billing satisfaction survey that says, did I have a delightful billing experience?
Yeah.
Now, how many people use that kind of language? Some do, but patient-friendly billing, like, what about, like, your billing experience was delightful?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. 11
You didn't
star.
get 11 star. You didn't get 17 different confusing pieces of paper and all that. So I think that there's another one, too, that we're always fans of, which is some call it the circle of love around the patient.
Okay.
Because many times the patient, if it's a child in a children's hospital, they have to have other people helping them.
Sure, yeah.
Or if you have a type 2 diabetic and they have, support around them, you have to think about all those things, right? If you're going to create value for the patient, because what we all know is unique about healthcare, not many people wake up like, I want to buy a new stereo. I'm going to go do my homework. Nobody wakes up and says, I want to go get some knee work, or I want to go fix a cut finger, go to the ER.
Right.
So, we have to deal with that, but it's still a business transaction.
Yeah.
The most important thing is the clinical work, and an invoice payment process is still important. So the whole thing should be awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
That's how you're competitive. You build loyalty and avoid network leakage. And so I think digital transformation and just our passion is to think about things in the atomic and molecular.
Right.
And the more that you're down in the weeds in atomic and molecular, then the more you can segment and really think about the patient through all those lenses.
Yeah. So I think about the principles of primacy and recency. The first thing that you heard and the last thing that you heard when you're at a session at a conference like this or in some other situation, that's what happens. It's what you walk away with. First thing and the last thing.
Yep.
And as you're describing in the clinical setting, right, you may have a great clinical experience, but your patient access, you're upfront, you're scheduling these types of things, right? And then the last thing, you're billing. These are the things that are really going to impact the experience that you had, especially if in the clinical setting you were under for surgeries. You're able to witness what was happening. So your encounter is so influenced by your experience of the revenue cycle side of the billing and that type of thing. I actually had an experience at a resort recently where it was getting a little funky at the end with the billing, and I'm like, I had a great time. I even actually laid out your explanation of this. The front end and the back end and the clinic in the middle. It was like, okay, well, we scheduled this from here and had a great resort experience, but now it's being put at risk, and I actually talked about revenue cycle and explained it. And, it was a good conversation because I was able to approach it that way. We know about the healthcare experience and how impacted we feel when there's a disconnect between whether it was the estimation and what we got, or the fact that we got a surprise bill, or that we were billed 10 different times. And to really create, unification of all that from the patient's experience. That's how you get from, 3-star to an exceptional experience.
Yeah.
So what I want to say, I know we have limited time here.
Yeah.
And we have some amazing topics we're going to go deep in tomorrow. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah.
But before I lose you in this conversation, I want to ask you to tell me about payer steers.
Well, first of all, it's bourbon, and I'm more of a single malt guy.
Okay.
Yeah, so this was a fun thing that we did with clients we did an innovation workshop and design lab.
Yeah.
We always tried to break bread and have some
Oh,
fun.
yeah, sure.
So we hosted these meetings in Louisville.
Yep.
And then we ended up in Maker's Mark with some visitors and some clients and prospects.
Yeah.
And they made this custom bottle
Uh-huh.
through like a 4-hour experience.
Wow, okay.
So you turn a traditional bottle of Maker's into your bottle of Maker's.
Yeah, yeah.
So wisdom of the crowd.
Uh-huh.
You have to negotiate.
Right,
And I like that one. Why do you like that one? And,
Yeah.
so what they settled on was this very custom bottle, which we have a barrel of and send it to our clients and friends. And
Payers Tears.
My favorite thing is the payer tears.
Payers Tears. You're trying to start a little...
We're trying to level the playing field since
okay.
that payers have providers outmanned and outgunned
Yeah, that's true, huh?
by a big number.
Yeah.
So
I have heard it described, the dynamic between payers and providers has been described as an arms race. Do you share the thinking on that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there are some providers and payers that have a great relationship because they're in the market together. They meet, they're trying to do all the right things. There's all these transactions every day going back and forth, cost to collect and cost to adjudicate.
Yeah.
Thousands of touches and then thousands of accounts not even being touched.
Right.
So it's like they're just throwing rocks at each other on a bunch of stuff that there's got to be better ways, right, to adjudicate large batches of claims.
Sure.
And so we're trying to help get people to go beyond the rhetoric of like provider and payer relations to use big data, bring them together, say, this is going to cost you a lot to settle, let's say there's 10,000 claims over 90 days, unpaid and the payer's going, well, I never got some of those claims in the prior, I've sent them all and I've got the receipts. Okay, let's just put them in the center of the table and say, we provided the care.
Yep.
Let's have a more elegant way to settle.
Yeah.
So we're trying to drive some innovation around payment clearance in a broad way that doesn't require 1,000 phone calls on both sides.
Right.
$2 phone call, $3 phone call, $25 phone call.
Yeah.
So, we want to be the détente of this arms race.
Right on.
Right.
Well, I will look forward to speaking with you tomorrow more about how that gets done. Thank you.
Cheers.
We'll talk again soon.
Thank you for
the
it's fun to be on this side of it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.